What's poppin', everybody? What's poppin'? Let me know if the sound is on. Tarshin Temple, yo, I see that name. That shit bring back mad memories. That shit is crazy. This nigga Inch. Salute to my boy Inch. Facts. Salute to my boy Inch, man. What's poppin'? Palado, salute. Iraq 152, salute. Almighty DTR, salute. Nath Bones, salute. Compton in the building, salute. Eli Delgado, salute. You know what I'm saying? Ray Leon Rivera, salute. It's my dude right there. Yeah, man. Everything good. Tarshin. Yo, that name, that's crazy, bro. That's my dude right there. You know what I'm saying? Tarshin Temple, that's crazy. Long time no see, homie. Good to see you home too. Word. April D, salute. Well, I gotta you know what I'm saying? I gotta basically how you do this? All right, so I got 45 minutes and I gotta break two things down. Um, so I thought I'll start with the first one. Um, a lot of people don't know about the Dominican Republic and its people. So I'm gonna give a short breakdown and then I'm gonna show you something that happened back in 1990, beginning in 95, ending in 1994. Kevin McCoy, peace, King. Salute. You know what I'm saying? April D, salute, April D. Brian Crawley, my dude. Salute. So, all right, so here's how it goes, right? Because what I did was I did a little bit of research on it just to make sure that I know that my facts is correct. But I like to always facts. That's a facts, Inch. I like to always how you say it? I always like to be precise in when I say something. So um let's see how this one goes. So I guess it starts here. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna say when it comes to Dominican Republic, the island of Hispaniola basically went through a genocide. So it has two beginnings. It's crazy, right? It's crazy that a lot of people don't even know that. It has two beginnings. You know what I'm saying? Haitian and Dominicans are of the same people, right? Yeah, they were the same people, but let me show you what happened. So, first and foremost, um, this is what they say. It's called the Five Uncomfortable Truths About Blackness in the Dominican Republic. In the late 1930s, then dictator Rafael Trujillo oversaw the ethnic cleansing of thousands of Haitians. This was often known as the Parsley Massacre. The massacre name derived from the method it was rumored Trujillo used to decide which people to kill. Troops would ask citizens to pronounce perejil, the Spanish word for parsley, and whoever didn't have a Spanish inflection was promptly murdered. Trujillo later also established a detailed plan to lighten the Dominican race. The plan included allowing more Jewish refugees to enter the country, as well as exiles from the Spanish Civil War. He tried filling universities and hospitals with light skinned professionals to create a great presence of whiteness in professional areas. Some say he even tried altering the merengue dance so that it is more modeled to the European waltz. Dominicans were also often encouraged to marry white partners or partners with lighter skin, with the hope that the nation would become more successful the lighter its citizens became. Because of societal disdain for dark complexions, many Dominicans, including popular Dominican baseball player Sammy Sosa, have bleached their skin. Through Though more than 85% of Dominicans are said to have descended from Africa, in a recent census, only 4% of the Dominicans classified themselves as black. DNA evidence has estimated that as much as 85% of Dominicans have African ancestry. Less than 0.08% have ancestry from Europe. But on a recent census, 82% of Dominicans chose to classify themselves as Indio, a term many Dominicans have adopted for any person who is of slightly darker skin. So here's the here's the thing that gets me, right? So back in the days, or should I say, it's always been that way with Dominicans. Dominicans always were people that basically, if they were born over there in Dominican Republic and they came over here, they were on it. And when I say they were on it, they were on that Dominican wave, meaning it was Dominican all day. If they were born over here, then it was different because now, even though they Dominican, it's about how they raise and who they raise with and this, that, and the third. So it changes. You see what I'm saying? It flips. So Dominican Republic was originally the island of Hispaniola, also known as the island of Quisqueya. So the island, basically, when if it's before the Europeans came on the island and did all the rape and brought the diseases and all that other stuff, before was any of that stuff, before any of that, the island was full of Indians, Tainos and Arawaks, which comes they basically like the same. They're the same they the same Indian. It's just that they had a different type of dialect. Our wax were Tainos also, but they were a different dialect of Tainos. They spoke, you know, a little bit different. That's what the island had before the Europeans came. Once the Europeans came, they brung from Spain and all that. They brung uh disease, smallpox, famine. And then when it went to war with the Indians, they beat them. With the Tainos, they beat them. Why? Because they had weaponry, the stuff that the Indians didn't have. You see how they, and what's crazy? You see how people talk about um Christopher Columbus discovered America? They teach you that stuff in the schools. That's what you learn in the school. But in all actuality, Christopher Columbus was a rapo. Christopher Columbus invaded these islands. So the island of Hispaniola has two separate beginnings because it began indigenous with the Indians, with the Tainos. Then they almost eradicated through genocide. They almost killed all of them to the point where there was only about 50,000 left, and they started intermarrying and intermingling. Then they started to bring slaves. Let me show you. So, let's see. That was that one. So, they say Hispaniola is an island on the Caribbean known as the Greater Antilles. It is the descendants of early Spanish settlers and of black slaves from West Africa, constitute the two main racial strains. So you see how there's two main racial strains. So when you see the light-skinned Dominicans, those have more they have more European in them. When you see the dark-skinned Dominicans, they have more West African in them. And then when you see the tan skinned Dominicans, they are more Indian. Because where did the Arawaks and the Tainos go? They went to Guyana, which is where? The West Indies. South America, however you want to say it. You see what I'm saying? So then they says, who are the original inhabitants of the island of Hispaniola? That was the name of the Dominican Republic before it became Hispaniola, right? So who were the inhabitants? The Taino were an Arawak people who were the indigenous people of the Caribbean and Florida. At the time of European contact in the late 15th century, they were the principal inhabitants of most of Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, which is now called the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. So all these islands had their Indians. Same way they had the American Indians over here. Remember? When they started talking all this Thanksgiving stuff, same thing happened over here. Right? They came over here with their armor and all this other stuff that these Indians they never saw before or had anything to counter with. They also brought the cannons off their boats and they put it on the sand on the beaches to shoot the cannons into the, you know what I'm saying? So they took the land. So this is why the land has two different beginnings. It has a beginning that started with the Indians, but once the genocide happened and they was almost evaporated. Hold on. I believe they said it was about 50,000 of them that was left. But let me just to be exact, I'm gonna hit you with the right joint. So okay, so basically when the Europeans got on the island, they almost no lie, they almost vanquished the whole island. They killed and it wasn't just through them killing people. They brought diseases that they had on those ships. You know what I'm saying? On those ships, they had diseases on those ships. They brought them onto the island with them. You see what I'm saying? So that ended, right? That ended the era or the population of the Indians ruined and their island. It was no longer their island no more. Their island got took over. You know what I'm saying? That's why in Puerto Rico they call certain people Hibaro. A Hibaro is a person that comes from the woods. He's not from the city. He's from the country in the woods. And they say that those are the people that were more uh pure because the those Europeans they didn't really go into the woods because they couldn't solve the woods as they would the towns, the regular cities and stuff like that. The woods was more different. You had to know how to get through the woods. You know what I'm saying? But they wiped out majority of the island of Hispaniola, and then they let their population became big. So now the population was divided. The population was divided by the European and the Africans. You see what I'm saying? And that's why the race got so mixed up. You know what I'm saying? There are some people who are truly 100% Dominican, but most are not. You know what I'm saying? Most are the what's called the conjunction of what makes a Dominican, which is European, West African, Indian. You know what I'm saying? It's a mixture of several different things. You see what I'm saying? Um, so now let's take it to the prison system. So back in the days in the early 90s or whatever, when the movement started, and I'm talking about the blood movement, when the blood movement started, um, it started for many different reasons. I can't say with 100% certainty, but I can say with at least 85% certainty. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, the real person who can really say it had to be somebody that was in the house at the time. But I know for a fact that when Matt came down and he brought to light the movement, he brought the movement to light. It's like, for example, I could be sitting right here, and my man could be sitting right here, and his man could be sitting right there. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing this since back in the days. The Goonies did it. Monster Squad did it. All these movies that show you all that clubhouse stuff, right? So it's like a more serious type of clubhouse stuff where now you got it's a war going on. It's a war going on because you got two gangs that are big and that are being oppressive, plus the police. I heard somebody say something about dudes wasn't that the oppression wasn't with the police. That is 100% lie. Um, Todd Guns, how you think Todd Guns? How you think Todd Guns came about? How you think he got his hood? Took police hostage. Same thing with me. I knocked out the debt. You know what I'm saying? In 1B, we was getting it on with the police down there like every other day. And then in the yard, you had pimping them who was outside, and they had to bring like fire trucks and tanks and all types of crazy stuff out in the yard. So I could understand why some people might say that because they missed all that part. They weren't there for that. So because they missed that part, they're speaking from their little bit of experience coming from the time that they were there. But they missed a whole lot of banging. There was a whole lot of banging. There was more banging from 95 on up than there was from 95 on down. Because you got to understand that from 95 on down, it was certain people feeling a certain way and things were being established. So now, if for example I'm in the crib and he gets oppressed by somebody and that person's of another race, we're not looking at it from that perspective that it's a race thing. We're looking at like, yo, so who's that? He violating. We don't care what race he is. We just know that he's violating. But it just so happens that at the time, the people that are violating are representing a race, right? So if they representing a race, you know what I'm saying? Okay, they representing a race, but you still got to be down with them to be enemy. It's just you're not automatically an enemy because you speak Spanish. No, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, um, you gotta. Yeah, that's a fact. Inch was there at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with these dudes got big, and the police was wilding. The police was beating dudes down, throwing dudes in cells, handcuffed behind the back in their drawers, letting them freeze. The police was not giving dudes their food. You know what I'm saying? They was doing these bogus search downs where they crack somebody's cell and they beat them down, knowing that we all gonna riot behind that. A lot of things happen, man. The 1B movement lasted all the way till they closed down. They opened up one South in OBCC. It was forever war down there. And we're talking about Little Curtis knocked out CO Kemp. You know what I'm saying? They was fighting for a while too. You know what I mean? Getting it on, choking each other. They was fighting on the gallery. You had I knocked out Captain Bailey, and then I knocked out motherfucking the warden in OBCC. You know what I'm saying? Todd Guns did that. You had Wayno and them popped off also down there on the police downstairs. So oppression back then came from three perspectives. It came from the gangs that were too big that now became too like and it happens. It even happens with us. It even happens. Saying we get too big, and guess what happens? We become oppressive. Not saying that that's my mentality. I'm just keeping it a buck. You know what I'm saying? When things get too big, people get too comfortable, and then what happens is that they feel like nobody can stop them. They got the power to do this, that, and the third, and then that's when the oppressive behavior comes out. Sometimes people don't even realize how oppressive they're being. They feeling like they really feeling the movement that they're in. They're not really seeing that the way that they're expressing how they feel about the movement that they're in is oppressive. See what I'm saying? So, and yeah, some people are born with that type of mentality in their household too. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen racist parents teach their kids all types of racist things. I've seen it before. You know what I'm saying? Nobody escapes. Uh, nobody escapes. You know, nobody escapes the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like to say, you know, I always like to say that you got to look at things very clearly before you say that you saw something. You know what I'm saying? So, um, it's not about the language that you speak. It was never about that. As a matter of fact, I done been in situations when I'm in the bullpen and I'm in the bullpen over here and I'm talking to my homie across and the bullpen's full of uh 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 a bunch of Spanish dudes and they talking in Spanish and they scheming on me. Next thing you know, I turn around, I start blasting stuff in that bullpen, and they're bugging out. Like, oh, you see what I'm saying? And that's why I tell dudes, I say, yo, with the pigs, that was major, major, major. Okay, to show you how major it was with the pigs, all you got to do is read the case. Arizona, Phoenix versus Arizona. That's all you got to do. Salute Junior's towing. Sanu Junior's tone. I appreciate you, bro. Blaka blaka. Junior's tone in the building. Yo, you know what I'm saying? It was war back then, period. And this is why I say from at least from the ending of 94, 95 on up, it became a new term. But what I'm trying to say is that Dominicans, at that time, because they were like a class, but they were a class by themselves. They stuck to themselves, but they wasn't on no racist stuff. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't really on no racist stuff, man. They was just about them, while other people were about the race, yes. But the Dominicans were about them. That's why they made the Trinitario and Caballo. That's why Caballo and Junito, they went and did their thing. You know what I'm saying? Because they was doing their thing. They wasn't at first. They wasn't with nobody. Caballo was popping tops off in 2 block. Junito was popping tops off up north. You had a lot of dudes popping off. You know what I'm saying? That were Dominican, but they wasn't popping off on the homies or nothing like that. They was out the way. Afterwards, I heard some things happen later on in the years, like in 2013 or 12 or something like. I'm talking about back in 95 when everything was getting correlated, should I say? You know what I'm saying, with them, the homies, and everything else, and they was actually riding with us. You know what I'm saying? They was riding with the homies because we both came about around the same time. That's right. Julio Cementerio, Iraq 152. Julio Cementerio put work with me in the Beacon. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I agree with you, Alan Chan. That's a fact, Tarshin Temple. That's a fact. You know what I mean? So, you know, the oppression came from all those perspectives. You know what I'm saying? For those that were in the Bing, it was steadily war with the police. For those who were there in population, then for the little moment that they were there, it was they were going at it with these other gangs. But when you came to the box, you know what I'm saying? Those gangs weren't coming to the yard. Those gangs were staying put because they already knew that we were on vicious time. You see what I'm saying? So uh that's basically how it went. Like I said, I can't talk for like 93, 92, and all that other stuff. I can't talk for those years. The reason why, because I was in the full building, or in 94 I was up north, and then I came back down. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it definitely it had a lot of come on, bro. Can you imagine? I'm sure Todd Guns is probably sitting back, Wayno, all these people probably looking back like, yo, cat, tell him, Dudes is bad vibes. I remember bad vibes got took out on a gurney. You know, bad vibes bust the police head open with a tray, cut him, bust his whole thing open in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like when it came to Wayno got beat down in the middle of the night. Ungambino got dragged down the stairs. You know what I'm saying? After Ungambino set it off on the captain late at night. You see, when they was trying to search his cell. So, so when it came to oppression, it wasn't just, it wasn't never, it was not about no race. It was about a gang that got big, and then another gang that was with them that made them even bigger. We were the minority. They had control of the jacks. We was trying to get, we was trying to live. They was like, nah, and dudes was popping off. Before dudes started popping off in the adults, I'm telling you right now, in the fall building, Light and Reese popped off in 10 lower. And this was like late 93, early 94. Light and Reese popped off in 10 lower and C74. Popped off from the same gangs that we started going to war with later on, and then created the whole movement. Light and Reese already had did that in the fall building. Then after that, Papa Jock hit one of them, and then I believe it was either SI or Fulo hit one of them dudes too. So it was all war. So the war was already popping off in the adolescence. It's already going in. So the adults now, they dealing with a different type of environment, because the way we had it was, listen, we come out, we see one of them dudes in the hallway, we popping off on them. The adults were basically on some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them were on pop off time too. But most of the adults, they was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Um, get this bozo out of here. So when just because somebody, and that's another thing, just because somebody represents a race doesn't mean that his mentality is racially motivated. It doesn't mean that it's racially motivated because a person represents a race. If I'm Latin King, or a person is Latin King, and he decides to attack someone else, you can't say that the reason he attacked someone else was because that other person was from another race. It was for a reason that he attacked that person. The same way the reason was, when back then, the reason was had nothing to do with race. It had to do with the phones. A lot of dudes couldn't live. Yeah, yeah, Big Lou. This dude be coming in the chat. He trying to get subscribers, this bozo, man. I hope he makes another video to bozo, because I got something for him. I already know what he look like. But yo, and I'm about to show everybody what it look like. I got a picture of him. But yo, I ain't gonna even dwell on that bozo. But like I was saying, so that's how it was going. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly how it was going. You know what I'm saying? You, because you represent something. So they're representing unity for the Latin Kings. They represent unity for the Latin race. For those that were being oppressed, as they say beforehand, all the time. Rick Porter, Big Lou, salute beforehand. That's a fact. Feed them beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Look, you got to remember something. Um, there's people that joins things and change their mind. I know a lot of dudes that were kings and turned blood or whatever, and or a couple of dudes, should I say. And my thing was, why would they do that? The reason was because they saw that the ideology that they was reading in their lessons and what was going on was diverging. You see, a lot of dudes was looking at it, was like, yo, like, hold up, man. You know what I'm saying? How is it that, you know what I'm saying? How is it, why is this popping off like this? It was the phones. It was the phones, and it was the fact that dudes just wasn't living, because them dudes was, listen, I myself had the same situation. I walked into the crib, and when I walked into the crib, them dudes had the jack. Listen, yeah, you ain't gonna tell me I can't get on the jack. I'm not trying to hear that. Whop, somebody gets ate, guess what? Now it's war, because you just touched one of them. That's it. That simple. Snap of a finger. You see what I'm saying? Snap of a finger, and that's it. There goes the war right there. It doesn't take no. It's not no big thing. It can take the littlest things like this small, and there goes the war. That's what happened with the death before dishonor with Mac Moulton and them in Green and Kaksaki. Little thing like this caused a big war with them. Next thing you know, you got the Bloods and the death before dishonor going at it. Little thing just like this. To say it's race is a big thing. It's to make it more of it what it was. Yes, they were representing the race, but their oppression didn't come motivated by the race. It came motivated by how strong they were. It became motivated by them thinking that they can't be stopped now because they're deep. That's where it started to get crazy. That's where now we're talking. Now here comes the war, here comes the drama, here comes the beef. You see what I'm saying? Salute, Vincent Rodriguez, Venezuela Reyes, salute. You see what I'm saying? That's why I say, uh, when dudes is looking at when dudes is saying that it's race motivated, it's not race motivated. It had nothing to do. If it was race motivated, then we would have had the Dominicans, we would have had the Latin Kings, we would have had the Nietas, we would have had the Rat Hunters, we would have had all these Spanish gangs. We would have had all these Spanish gangs against us. These are all Spanish gangs. Macheteros, Rat Hunters, Nietas. I could keep on going. We didn't have no beef with the Rat Hunters. We didn't have no beef with the Macheteros. We didn't have no beef with them. You see what I'm saying? The only reason we had beef with the Nietas was because they was rolling with them. Or we wouldn't have no beef with them either. And they disappeared. Nah, hey yo, you hear me, Danny Duncan? It was something petty, man. Let me tell you. Hold up, time out. Not petty because someone got hurt. Yeah, it's not that different, Nave Bone, because the LA prisons are run like the feds. So I know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is in Long Park and all that. Now I know people that wasn't Long Park and all that. You see what I'm saying? And th- I'm into Taoism live from the 718. But that's why I say, it wasn't people would try to say that is race, but they just was just too big and they was representing the race. You see what I'm saying? They was too big, they was representing the race, and then the Nietas went and joined in. But we didn't have no beef with the Dominicans. Not until later on, they started going at it. I remember when I was on the island back in like 2012 or something like that. Yeah, they had their little static or whatever, but that kind of died out or whatever. But it never was like that back in 9-5 when Caballo and all them was down there. Facts. That's not how it happened. You know what I'm saying? So I like to keep it a buck. A lot of things started over petty things, man. Phone, majority of it, I'm telling you right now, majority was that phone. Was that phone. That phone and just your right to live, period. I remember in 10 Lower how they had it. The Land Kings had the whole right side, and the other side was just rejects. What they called rejects anyway. Dudes that had no name, that was nobody. And they went in their locker, took whatever they wanted. And I saw them do it to different people. I saw them to do it to blacks. I saw him even do it to Spanish dudes. No lie. I saw them do it to Spanish dudes. Go open. They was lames. According to them, they was lames. They wasn't kings. So you know what I'm saying? They was up for grab. They was going right in their locker. Yo, let me. Are you going to commissary? Yeah, I bet. If you ain't going to commissary, I'm put my money in your account. You gonna go to commissary for me? I'm gonna give you like 2 bags of chips. Oppression. You see what I'm saying? So this is why always say you got to really analyze and dissect things to the T. You know what I'm saying? Because we wasn't going to war with no Dominicans back in 9-5, 9-6. We wasn't going to war with them. They was rolling with us. You see what I'm saying? We wasn't going to war with them up north either. I don't know about no mediums. I never been to a medium. But I know in the Maxes we wasn't. In the Maxes we was not going at it with them. We was not going at it with the rat hunters. We was not going at it with none of these people. So then how can it be race? Salute Brian Crawley in the building. You know what I'm saying? Salute. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, you know what I'm saying? Because I spoke to Scully earlier. You know, Scully just wanted me to reiterate. I told him that everybody knows, but for those who don't know, um, because Scully's real adamant about it. That was not his grandmother, and she did not get cut on the visiting floor. That was a lady from his block that she looked at him as a son, an older lady. She came to see him. Things popped off on the visit. She did not get cut. You know what I'm saying? And that did not start off no war. You know what I'm saying? That did not start off no war. So he wanted me to reiterate that because he's watching right now from Jamaica. Salute to Scully. He's watching right now from Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? But he told me straight up, he said, "Yo, Cat, please fix that for me." I said, "I got you. I be forgetting I've been at work. I ain't been doing that many lives lately. I got you." The man's grandmother did not get cut on no visiting floor. That was a lady from the block that looked at him like a son. You know what I'm saying? No, he did not get, she did not. Yeah, I don't know why they saying that, Alan Chan, but I'm correcting it right now. You heard it from me on the live. And he's watching right now. He said, no, that was not true. You see what I'm saying? He said that the same thing I'm telling you right now. He had drama. Him and his co-defendant, rest in peace, Shower. They was getting into problems in the cribs because again, them dudes was deep. You know what I'm saying? They thought they control all the phones. You know what I'm saying? They ain't want to respect people. You know what I'm saying? Because they wasn't Latin King. Not because they was black or because they was Spanish. Did they have disdain for black people? Yes. How do I know that? Because when they speak and they talk about the 5%ers, they always say the 5%ers were oppressing the Spanish people. So does that answer the question? So they did have disdain, yes. They had disdain in their heart. But it was majority of because how strong they got. And then I remember 98, 99, you had homies out in the street cutting all kinds of innocent people, cutting all this, bringing females home by sexing them in and all that, violating, and they became oppressive. A female that sexed in is not no homie, man. That's a porn star. Let's keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? So again, like I was saying, and I'll say it one more time before I go to the next thing, right? So Dominicans now, the new beginning of the history now is that you're either majority African or you're majority European. So that's how it goes down. So it depends on your lineage if you're majority African or you're majority European. So that's how you gotta see about your lineage. You see what I'm saying? And like I said, a lot of the homies, especially I could speak for me, Wayno, Top Guns, Curtis, Nalo, Wayno, Magoo, Audi, Bad Vibes, Mahim, Ungambino, Dizzy. I could speak for all of us. We was popping off with the Jakes every single day. every day almost. I'm talking about it was on and popping. We coming out the cell and we trying to go past the magnometer downstairs on purpose. They saying it's ringing. You know what I'm saying? We getting it on with them right down there. They shutting down the wreck. They taking you to the receiving room. Man, we was going through it with the Jakes. So when it came to oppression, it came from many levels, man. First of all, you always got to say that it came from the Jakes first, anyway, because before the Land Kings and the homies was fighting, who was fighting with the Jakes? We was fighting with the Jakes, man. The Jakes was doing dudes dirty, yo, doing dudes dirty. They killed that dude, Amal Shepard. They killed Amal Shepard before the movement. They killed him in the cell. They said they was doing a search down, went up in there and beat that man down. Now, before I go, man, I gotta send a salute. But let me just explain to y'all what happened. So back in 2004, I was in Comstock. I had a pair of moccasins. So I got a pair of moccasins from LL Bean, and I was in D Block. About a month later, I get moved from D Block to B Block because I'm doing lawns and grounds. Anyway, dude moves into my cell, doesn't say nothing that I left the mocks in there. Instead, he just jacks them, wears them. So about a month, maybe about a month, couple of weeks later, I'm in the weight pile lifting weights, and I look next to me. I see this dude working out. You know, he bigger than me and all that, brolic. And then I look down at his feet, and there goes my mocks. I even remember that I forgot 'em. I was like, "Oh, yo, you know what? I don't even get the mocks that was under my bed. You know, I forgot all about them." Anyway, I asked him. I was like, "Yo, where you get the mocks from?" So you know, he lied to me. He told me he got them from Buster Move, and I knew that was a lie because Buster Move don't sell LL Bean products. So anyway, long story short, at the end of the wreck, we met up in the middle of the yard. You know, I told him, yo, those are my mocks. You know, we had a couple little bit of words, and you know, we went at it. We was fighting. You know what I'm saying? We was out there, you know what I'm saying, doing our thing till the police came, broke it up. You know what I'm saying? Um, at the time, a lot of homies was like, yo, you know what I'm saying, what's up? You want me to go out there and do? I was like, nah, nah. You know what? You know what I'm saying? Nah, don't do that. Son, good. He good money. You know what I'm saying? He fought me like a man. Even though he lost, he still fought me like a man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And when we got to Keep Lock, because they put us both on Keep Lock, he sent me the marks back with a note saying, you know, he apologized. I sent him a note back, saying, nah, you can keep it, man. Don't worry about that, man. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? And me and him got cool. But then I never seen him again after that. You know what I'm saying? Because I got kicked out of Comstock and they sent me to Attica. You know what I'm saying? Now here it is years later. We talking about maybe 15, 20 years, almost, you know, we talking 2004. We're in 2020 right now. Do the math. From then and there, I'm talking with somebody named Jay Breezy Farborough, and me and him is kicking it. And when me and him is kicking it, you know, he's telling me about Comstock. He's telling me about a few spots, but I'm trying to figure out how, you know, he know me real good. It didn't know, I didn't know that he's Angel's brother, son that I had to fight with in Comstock in jail. So long story short, we start kicking it and all that. We start kicking it, and then I get in contact with Angel. Rest in peace. And we, you know, we start kicking it. We start kicking it. This was not too long ago. A couple of, like about a month or two ago, and I just spoke to him about a month ago. No lie. He's, you know, we was kicking it and all that. I was like, yo, it's good to see you home. Keep doing your thing. Boom, boom, boom. And then I found out that he passed away from the COVID. He was healthy, strong, and he just passed away because his brother had, you know, his brother hit me up. He said, yo, they called me to identify him. You know, if that's not an eye opener, And from many different perspectives, it should be because some of us take for granted the life that we live. We're not promised tomorrow. That's a fact, Junior. So appreciate that. Rest in peace, man. I just spoke to him. This was a brother that I knew from back in the days, yo. Me and him squared off in the yard in Comstock. We got cool after that. I didn't abuse my power at that time. I made an ally, and I met him back out again out here, and then boom, look what happened. You see what I'm saying? Don't take life for granted, yo. Don't take life for granted, man, because tomorrow's not promised to everyone, yo. You see what I'm saying? Make sure that you live your life and experience the things that you want to experience. If there's something you want to do, do it. Listen, let me tell you something. Since I've been home, I done skydive. I done jumped out of airplanes, bro. I done jumped out of airplanes. I done did a whole lot of things, man. Since I came out. You gotta enjoy it while you can. We got so much shit going on. People getting sick out of nowhere. I always told y'all, and they were saying that it's not, but I always told y'all from the beginning, right or wrong, I always said I thought it was in the air. Now they're saying that the best thing for you to do is not get sick. Don't catch a cold. You know, I, my thing is this, man. You know, that's a fact, Tarshin Temple. You gotta love life, man. You gotta love life, man, because every day somebody's going. Somebody's crossing them gates, yo. And like I said, man, I ain't seen so long. It was crazy meeting up with him again, and knowing that I was kicking it with his brother all this time. Taino Welder, I agree with you. You know what's crazy, Taino Welder? I agree with you. But I just wanted to say, man, that because it actually hit me in my heart, man, because I just spoke with Son a couple weeks ago. He was good money. He was doing good job and all that. Look, he's gone. We can't take life for granted, yo. We can't. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I agree with you, Big Lou. I tell people, man, don't get sick, man. Eat right. Try to cut that red meat off. You know what I ate for lunch? A salad with turkey and cheese. We got to start being more mindful of ourselves, man. People go to the thing all the time to check for colon cancer and end up coming up that they have something else. Let's not play games, man. Let's be more aware. Let's take more credit. Let's put more value into the times that we spend and not waste them. Lucifer the Spartan, salute, homie. I will miss you, homie. Word. You know what I'm saying? You'll be all right. Salute. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, um, I just had to tell that story, man, because I know his brother's probably watching, or maybe he's not. I know he's going through it. I don't see him in the chat, and I know he's going through him to know. You know what I'm saying? I want him to know that, you know, it's war. It's war right now. It's a silent one, but it's active. And we gotta protect ourselves, our squares, and we gotta pray for those that go and only hope that they go to a better place than where we are. Less suffering. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, that's a fact, Lucifer. You know what I'm saying? But I got to get up out of here because I got to get up man early in the morning. But I had to come through and just break it down about, so number one, so Dominicans again, they either 85% African or 85% European. It depends on their lineage. And then you got those that are full blooded. You see what I'm saying? But remember, there's two beginnings. Because before those European and anybody else came to that island, before anybody came to that island, they were inhabitants there. And they were the Tainos and the Arawaks. They are they are whose land that is. When the Europeans came and took over that and all that, that's when it changed. And that's why it has another beginning. Because I was looking at it, and when I was looking at it, it went to after 1492 when Christopher Columbus already settled and did all what he did. So I said, hold up, why does it always go there? You telling me that there was nobody there before Christopher Columbus came? You see what I'm saying? And then when I went and checked, yes, they were. They were Tainos and they were Arawaks. They were the ones who were there. That's who the island of Hispaniola, that's who the descendants are. Those are the original people of that land. The other people that came afterwards are not original people from that land. They was born to that land and then they immigrated. You see what I'm saying? And in the beginning, we didn't have no beef with Dominicans. We didn't have no beef with rat hunters. We didn't have no beef with these Spanish gangs. We had beef with land kings and nietas at that time, and it was because of what? They were deep. They had the numbers. They had control. You could go to these federal jails. Some of them is controlled by the Mexican mafia. Some jails are controlled, and there's all kinds of gangs there. But then you go to some jails, and the Mexican mafia is deep as hell. They got their numbers is up. Only way you go on a war with them is you team up with somebody else. And then there's certain jails where, what I'm saying, you got mad blood. So you got certain jails mad crips, and you got certain jails that's mad Aryan Nation. You see what I'm saying? So it's all depends. You know what I mean? And um, I would like to send a special shout out to Angel Ramos, man. Rest in peace, man. You know, send a shout out to the Ramos family, man. JBZ5 Borough. Whenever you get to see this live, stay strong, fist up. You know what I'm saying? Spartans never die, we multiply. You heard? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, fist up, man. He still lives. He lives through you. You know what I mean? So, like I said, stay strong. Keep your head up. You already know, man. You know what I'm saying? And yo, Inch, I got the number. I'm gonna hit you up, Inch. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody for coming through. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get up out of here. Um, you know, it's a pleasure to speak with y'all. If there's anything that y'all heard today, y'all could do the research. You know what I'm saying? Y'all could do the research, and check it out for yourself. You know, I could uh I could give you the link if you need a link to check it out or what. I'll show it to you. But like I said, if you go and look at it, you know what I'm saying? Right now, 80% 80% of Dominicans are considered African descendants um through DNA. But a lot of Dominicans don't put that down on their as their race. They put Indian because they actually understand and know that the original people of that land weren't Europeans or Africans. They were Indians. Those are the inhabitants of that island, of that land. You know what I mean? So let's get it right. Love you too, Tarshin. You know what I'm saying? Love you too. Yeah, now you right, Taina Welder. You know I got you, bro. You right. You know what I mean? And salute to everybody, man. Bloods, Kings, to everybody. Crips. To salute to everybody. You know what I mean? We gotta get it together, man, so that, you know, we can make better statements and not hurt ourselves trying to make a statement. You heard? So let's get it. Let's be real with it. You know what I'm saying? Let's be real with it. Let's be factual with it. As you can see, I went right to the facts just to let y'all know. So there's two ways to look at it. If you look at it from 1492, that's the new beginning of Dominican Republic. 1492 is the new beginning. That's when Christopher Columbus came and they changed the island because they did a genocide over there and they killed majority of the Indians. They only left a small population of them, and then they integrated with the people that they brought on there. You know what I'm saying? And back then, like I said, we didn't have no beef with no Dominicans. We didn't have beef with Caballo. We didn't have beef with Junito. We didn't have beef with Luca. We didn't have beef with them. They was actually riding with us. Anybody can tell you that. Anybody that was in 2 block could tell you that. You know what I'm saying? So salute everybody. You already know the Wildcats in the building. The Wildcat is out. None but love. You already know how we do. Braka, braka. Inch, I love you, bro. April D, salute. Miss you too. Big Lou. You know what I'm saying? Fist up. Luis Santiago, I appreciate you. Alan Chang. Yeah, that's a fact, Alan Chang. That's true. You'll be all right. Salute, homie. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Rob 2G, Allentown in the building. Shout out Allentown for rack. White Bull Terrier, salute. Yeah, man. Salute everybody for coming through. Papa Song Money. You know what I'm saying? Gabe Rodriguez, man. Y'all, everybody be safe, man. Like I said, stay healthy, man. Watch how you eat. Watch how you live. You know what I'm saying? And please try not to catch a cold, man. Hold up. Wait a minute. Somebody said they had a question. All right, April D, what's the question? Allentown. It's no, it's A. I mean, it's ALLETOWN. Allentown, PA. Well, I got a question. Allentown. Okay, what about Allentown? Go ahead, April D. She said she got a question. It's hot. Y'all see where I'm at, right? Yeah, you see how blue that water is? Know what I'm saying? What up, April D? Hit me with that question. Where that question at? She probably typing it. Allentown, yeah. If my brother in a gang, does that make me a gang member? It makes you it makes you like it makes you an affiliate. He's still your brother, so you already know. If some, it doesn't make you like no, you're not like you're not brung home, but you still considered, you know what I'm saying, a sister, because you got to remember that, it's, I know you're not gonna let nobody do nothing to your brother. So that answers the question right there. Would you let somebody do something to your brother? No. Are you yeah, affiliate? Facts, Big Lou. That's an affiliate. Associated, yes. You know what I'm saying? Yes, fact, Alan Chang. You're not on the set, but you're affiliated because he's affiliated with something or associated, and you're not gonna let nobody do something to him. You're gonna protect him because he's still your brother at the end of the day. That's family. Facts, Brian Crawley. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, April D. Might as well throw them chucks on, you heard? But you ain't here for me. But yo, salute everybody. Brah. Appreciate everybody for coming through, man. KO, nothing but love. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Nothing but love, man. Y'all stay up, man. Y'all stay blessed, man. The Wildcats out. Brakata.